Intuitive Astrology Forecast October 2024. As we move into October, we can't help but notice the end of the year on the horizon. Time tends to speed up, and with the cosmic skies busy this October, we are likely to feel a strong momentum pushing us along. As we begin the month, we are deep in the trenches of eclipse season. We may feel stuck between one state and the next, or that we are moving to something we can't reach just yet. As the solar eclipse arrives at the start of the month on the 2nd, we are welcomed with some fresh new energy. A new pathway may open for us, or we may feel the results of our hard work over the last 6 months finally come to fruition. This solar eclipse is connected to the eclipse we had back in March and April of this year, so whatever intentions or seeds were planted at that time may finally come to sprout in October. As we reach the Aries full moon on October 17th, the planetary waves will intensify, bringing a slew of busy cosmic activity. It is going to be important to come back to the energy of the Libra Sun, and try our best to find balance. We can't do everything, we can't be everywhere, and most importantly, we can't be everything to everyone, so we will have to pick and choose what is really worth our time. By the time the end of October rolls around, we may be feeling a little inspired, a little wired, and a little tired. Listening to our bodies and prioritizing rest as much as possible will help with this. Let's take a look at the key astrological dates for October. October Astrology 2024. October 1st, Sun conjunct Mercury and the Sun come together, bringing illumination and clarity. This is a power day in the cycle of Mercury. If you had any miscommunications during the last Mercury retrograde, this alignment can help iron and smooth things out. You may find that issues from last month begin to make more sense. Your mind may be sharper today too. October 2nd, Libra solar eclipse. A potent annular or ring of fire solar eclipse will darken our daytime sky, reminding us of the magic of the cosmos. This eclipse represents new beginnings and holds the promise of change. It can activate new pathways in our lives and set us up on a new journey. We can feel an eclipse like this a month before and a month after it arrives, so chances are we may already have some clues as to what new beginning is on the horizon for us. This eclipse is connected to the Aries solar eclipse we had back in April. Any intentions you set at that time are likely to come to fruition now. October 9th, Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter, the planet of abundance and expansion, enters retrograde in the sign of Gemini. Jupiter just entered Gemini back in May, and this is the first retrograde we have experienced. Jupiter will travel from 21 degrees of Gemini back to 11 degrees of Gemini. During this retrograde, themes from the end of May to September 2024 may come back around. You can learn more about Jupiter's journey in Gemini, and what you can expect here. October 11th, Pluto direct. Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, emerges from the underworld in Capricorn. This is the last time Pluto will be in Capricorn in our lifetimes. As Pluto wraps up his final stint in Capricorn, we may be transported back to 2008 in some way. We may find themes from this time officially coming to a close, or we may finally feel at peace with whatever transpired. We have all likely changed a lot since then, and Pluto stationing direct is a good time to celebrate the journey we have traveled. Pluto will re-enter Aquarius on November 20th, where it will remain until 2043. October 12th, Sun square Mars while it peaks today. This is something we have been feeling building all month. The Sun in Libra will square Mars in Cancer, bringing a build-up of tension. If we have been feeling stretched thin or burnt out, we may finally reach our limit today. Heated emotions may rise as well, causing us to lash out or get snappy with those around us. Channel this energy into being proactive, taking action, and exercise. Tensions will ease after today. October 13th to 15th, busy astrological days. Right before the full moon reaches its peak, we have a slew of planetary activity, making these few days feel like intense ones. We may be feeling busy, or a little scattered. Whenever we have busy planetary energy like this, the universe is always preparing us for something, and helping push things forward so we can get right where we need to be. It seems like we are perhaps being called to organize and get situated for this upcoming Aries full moon. If you are interested in the exact astrology over these few days, we have Sun trine Jupiter, things flow, helping to place us right where we need to be. Mercury square Pluto, deep communication and thought processes are possible now. Venus opposite Uranus, feeling scattered when it comes to our relationships. Venus trine Neptune, feeling uncertain when it comes to our relationships. October 17th Aries full moon. The Aries full moon is a supermoon, which means it will be nice and close to planet Earth, and we will feel its effects strongly. This is a very action-based full moon. We are likely to feel inspired to take charge and push forward in a direction that feels good to us. We may find ourselves needing to put our warrior mask on and step up in some way. While emotions may be running high, we are being encouraged to act and become the leader in the situation. This full moon is also closely linked to the Aries new moon eclipse we had back in April. We may see some similar themes or patterns between these two events. The intentions we set under this eclipse may also finally come into our reality. October 17th Venus in Sagittarius. Venus moves out of deep and introspective Scorpio into lighter territory in Sagittarius. This brings fresh energy that can allow us to feel playful, adventurous, and creative. This is a great time to spend with friends and to remember the importance of friendship. Make it a point to reach out to an old friend and let them know how much they mean to you. October 22nd Sun in Scorpio. The Sun moves out of air sign Libra into watery, sensitive Scorpio. It is under the Scorpio Sun that we can recognize the cycles of life. There is always darkness and light, and we ebb and flow between the two. One cannot exist without the other. Scorpio season is a time of change where we begin to go inward and reflect on why we are the way we are and what actions have led us to this point in our journey. This is a very introspective time and one where we may feel the need to withdraw and go within. October 22nd Sun square Pluto. Just in time for the start of Scorpio season, we have the Sun squaring Scorpio's ruler, Pluto. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, and reminds us of the temporariness of life. Everything is evolving and shifting from one state to another. We can see it in our physical bodies and all of nature around us. Sun square Pluto can bring a deeper awareness and have us digging to layers we have not ventured to before. This is a potentially intense time, but one where we can achieve profound breakthroughs and awakenings. October 28th Venus square Saturn. Venus in Sagittarius will square Saturn in Pisces. This is decision day. If we have been dragging our feet when it comes to making a decision, particularly in our relationship, this planetary alignment encourages us to take action. The time to decide has arrived. October 30th Mercury opposite Uranus. Uranus is the higher octave to Mercury, so we get a double dose of strong mercurial energy today and tomorrow. As we wrap up October, our minds may be running in overdrive. Mercury and Uranus together can fuel our brain waves and bring inspired ideas. We may feel hopeful to try something new or experiment with a new way of thinking. Alternatively, we may just feel pushed to our limits mentally. If that's the case, it's time to clear the mental clutter and give yourself some breathing space. Ascended Master Sanhia, what is reality? Hello dear friends. If Sanhia is asked to just talk about anything, he generally has little to say. He responds better to questions and in communicating through dialogue. In that format he does not claim to be speaking truth, but rather to be saying what the questioner needs to hear at that moment. This brings about what appears to be a logical inconsistency in his statements from one moment to another, but that can support the mind in letting go of the illusion of understanding. Sometimes I think that if there is a method to his madness, it is to leave the mind so confused that it simply gives up the ghost. I, likewise, find that as time goes on I have less and less to say. When it comes to these monthly notes to you, I usually begin by not being aware of anything I want to say unless there is logistic information to pass on. Then, Sanhia throws me a bone, and I crawl off after it. Thus, knowing becomes gnawing. Michael, I am hearing differing things from you. What is reality? Good now. You know it is both difficult and easy to speak out of both sides of my mouth. It is difficult, because I have neither a mouth nor sides, but it is easy, because I just place the words in Michael's mouth, and he has agreed to share them without question. Any words that I use do not tell the truth, so it can be helpful to state things in differing and even contrasting ways to approximate truth, to triangulate what actually is. I have been talking differently about reality in some of the more recent messages than I did in messages back several years ago. If you want to check that out for yourself, click here, and then click on reality for a list all the messages where the term is mentioned. Anyway, this is a good question, so let's look more deeply into it. Recently we have talked about reality as being what is in the now. For example, if it is raining now, that is the reality. We talk in terms of simple acceptance of what is in the now. If you have resistance to reality, if you want to change it, good luck with that. But it's not just the weather, it's everything. What is. It cannot be changed. You might want to change it in the future, even the near future. That's another matter we will deal with shortly, but reality is what is here right this moment. When one ignores it, or doesn't accept it, is upset, and in opposition to it, or wants to change it, there will be frustration, pain, suffering, and a sense of failure, because the now cannot be altered. The reality cannot be changed. When there is resistance to the now, it makes it nearly impossible to hear your inner guidance, spirit, or your divine self, because the ego mind is just too loud. This is the reality we have been referring to. It has been suggested that the more one is willing to notice what is present right now without judging it, or wishing to change it, the more one accepts the feelings triggered in this now, the more one learns to hear that quiet inner voice. We have encouraged you to do that, to take what is in the now as the perfect thing, to receive what Spirit is presenting to you to help you realize your divine nature. Let's start moving out to a wider sense of reality. One step out is to say that your only function, for being, for having this experience, in the physical with the body, is to wake up to the truth of your divine nature. Nothing else matters. That's a big step from accepting the now. Nothing else matters but being awake. In this process of awakening there are different levels. The ground level is having the desire, the intention to awaken. That can only come from the ego mind. As you have likely noticed by now, the ego mind is very clever and anything but self-destructive. The urge to awaken is most unlikely to make an appearance when things are going as one wishes they would. The ego only grudgingly allows a peek at this when you have become quite frustrated with the lack of delivery on ego promises. But a full awakening would mark the death of the ego. So, what proceeds to manifest in this world of duality is opposites. On one side, the intention to awaken is a prerequisite. On the other hand, as long as you hold on to the intention to awaken, you cannot notice you already are awake. Awakeness is in the now. Goals put your mind into the non-existent future. How do you make the shift from wanting to awaken to realizing awakeness? At some point the synapse is crossed, you realize you are, and always have been awake. You've just been pretending to be asleep. We could call the ego mind that pretender. However, you can have the idea that you really are awake, but that is still the ego mind running things, not a true experience. So, what happened somewhere along the line, remembering that time doesn't really exist, through what I like to call the grace of God, after countless letting goes of the ego mind, is it happens. This occurrence is after intention has been released. You know in that instant that none of this really matters, that the physical is just an illusion. If that is followed by the thought that you are awake now, say hello again to your ego mind. It doesn't matter. It will likely happen. The truth is in your divinity. It cannot be hidden forever. More often you will find yourself noticing the now with no attachment, with no agenda, with no resistance, with welcomeness and gratitude. As we are talking about this, because all we can do is use words and point, we could describe this as the first step of awakeness. None of this really matters. You still notice the world around you, the phenomenal world. You are still aware of the body, the vehicle you use for this exploration and interaction with this physical illusion. There is another level of reality. It could be stated loosely, reality is that which never changes. Ego mind will get hold of this and state that the now constantly changes, nothing stays the same. It will remind you that I have said, as you are noticing the emotions, accept them, feel them, let them move about, let them be free, welcome them, and let them lead you. They will constantly change. Ego may add that, if change equates to not real, how could I say that what is in the now, including feelings, are real? Now I seem to be saying the now isn't real. And what about everything in the phenomenal world? The weather changes, plants and animals grow and then die. Your physical body has and will go through enormous change from conception through birth, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, maturity, old age, and death. So now am I saying that everything that is a part of the now is not real? You are understanding me completely. Anything that does or can change is not real. This becomes quite the challenge for the mind. Is there anything in the universe that does not change? If you think the earth or the sun will always be here, check out what the science says. Even if the Bible is taken literally, the universe has both beginning and end. Absolutely nothing of the physical realm is real, because everything changes. What about this entity that I have referred to as you, or you refer to as I, this awareness, that experiences the changes in the phenomenal universe? Is it real? Phew. The questions seem to be getting harder. Are you real? Let's toss another one out there for you. If nothing in the physical world is real, and you are the observer of these illusions, if there is nothing to observe, is there still an observer? If the world is not real, are you real? If there is nothing to observe, can you observe nothing? The closest that we can come with words in defining that which never changes might be to call it divinity, or maybe God, if you can suffer that term. Or perhaps the oneness. If you are a creation of that whatever, made in its own image, that too sounds like a change. Divinity simply is always. If out of this never-changing, timeless, infinite isness you are created, then, by definition, you aren't really there. Using the metaphor of the ocean, which is undifferentiated water, it is all ocean. A wave can emerge on its surface, but has no identity separate from the ocean. Without the ocean, the wave does not exist. It may seem to have its own identity and direction, but eventually it crashes on a beach and returns to the oneness, having no further identity as a wave. Even the water that is considered to be part of the wave does not move with it, there is just this motion on the surface. Without the ocean there is no wave. So, the ultimate reality is undifferentiated divinity. There is no you. This reality is beyond anything the mind can comprehend. It is beyond anything the senses can be aware of. For the ego mind, such a picture triggers absolute terror. It represents not only the dissolution of the ego mind, but the dissolution of any aspect of the separated self, absolute non-existence. Oneness. No separation. Such ideas are impossible to comprehend or sense. So, after you reach the step of awareness, that you are a divine entity, created by God in its own image, and that there is no reality in the physical realm, your awakening is not over. It has just begun. As long as there is an observer watching the illusion of physicality, there remains a separation from the oneness. The ultimate awakening, for which we have used the term ascension, is where there is no longer a sense of you observing the physical illusion. Now ascension implies a rising up, but there is no direction involved, there is nothing. There is no longer a separate observer. There is only the ocean of oneness. Even though there is no forward or backward, we will appear to take a step back into looking at this now. For some of you there is a great challenge in doing things like accepting the perfection of the now. I will encourage you to let go of perfection as a term. Instead, Keeping in mind this larger vision of reality, flow with whatever is reminding yourself that it doesn't matter. Perfect or imperfect, it makes no difference. Either way, it's not real. It doesn't matter. If you are only here to realize you are already awake, whatever is happening is helping you to do that. If you are pretending to be asleep, no matter what happens, you will experience pain and suffering. Whether you are trying to find perfection or imperfection, you are going to suffer. In duality, there cannot be one without the other. This is true of every thought you might have. It has an opposite. There is no reality in trying to explain or understand. There is only more confusion. That is why we encourage you, as you are in the process of realizing that you already are awake, to let the mind go. It's not about learning. It's about unlearning everything you think you know. Whatever you think, you are wrong. If you are pretending to be separate from what you observe, you are going to suffer. Beyond that, this whole unreal movie you are pretending to be a part of is already scripted. You have no choice in changing it. Your only choice is whether or not you accept it as real. You are powerless, as an observer. The outcome is already known. What is occurring in the minutiae of the moment doesn't matter. We can guess that in the scope of the illusion of time, as the script runs, you stop playing in the game of time. You start playing with awareness in the game of divinity, of infinity, in the game of God. You realize that you are one with what you observe, that there is no separation. You know that nothing matters. Even if you are still playing in the game, using the vehicle you have to interact with the now, you know that it doesn't matter. You just enjoy the ride. Or don't enjoy the ride. Or enjoy not enjoying the ride. It doesn't matter. If you have the thought in the moment, and maybe it has been a long time prayer or mantra, maybe, God forbid, you learned it from me, Spirit help me accept the perfection of the now, you may be enabling the ego mind to try to find something good about what is happening. This triggers the good/bad duality. In that interplay, the mind usually wants to go for the positive. It doesn't ask Spirit for help in accepting the imperfection of the now. So, the negative is denied and pushed away. Try letting go of perfection, and accepting what is as what is. That is reality. Eventually it is what isn't. That, too, is reality. You begin by accepting the reality of what is. But eventually realize there is no isness. Nothing, including the observer, is real. But how can you realize that if you think what is happening in your movie is real? As long as that is the case, then the separate you is real too. If you are thoroughly confused at this point, then my work is done. Good now. Sanhia/spiritsorceryofflight.com. The other videos are in the English video playlist. Help me spread the light. Click like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.